Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. NASCAR signals major competition shift as short track package overhaul looms. Economist testifies NASCAR underpaid teams by over $1 billion. Charter talks heat up as teams push NASCAR toward a new era. Next gen debate reignites after a high profile weekend of on track drama. And we have our race recap for the NRL's weekend at Iowa and the PWRC's weekend at Charlotte. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to VBS Evening News. We begin tonight with breaking news. NASCAR is signaling that one of the most significant competition changes of the modern era could be on the horizon. After months of criticism from drivers, teams, and fans, the sport is now openly acknowledging that its short track and road course racing product must improve, and quickly. For more than 2 seasons, NASCAR's next-gen car has delivered closer racing at intermediate tracks, but short tracks, once the heart and soul of the sport, have struggled to produce the kind of side-by-side action fans expect. Drivers have been increasingly vocal, describing races where passing is difficult, tire wear is minimal, and track position outweighs raw racecraft. Team owners, meanwhile, have raised concerns about the current aerodynamic and horsepower balance has unintentionally muted driver impact. Now, NASCAR officials confirm that sweeping changes are under active evaluation. Among the options, increasing horsepower, reducing aerodynamic downforce, and introducing tire compounds designed to promote fall-off and strategy. Industry sources say any update would be aimed squarely at restoring what made short-track racing iconic: braking battles, throttle control, and drivers have to manage cars on the edge of control. NASCAR leadership has emphasized that no single adjustment would fix this issue overnight, but officials believe a multi-step approach could be implemented as early as next season. The goal, they say, is not just better racing, but restoring confidence that NASCAR is willing to adopt. If approved, the changes could mark one of the most aggressive competition resets since the introduction of the next-gen car, and a clear message that fan and driver feedback is driving the future of the sport. In a packed federal courtroom, testimony delivered today sent shockwaves throughout the NASCAR world. An independent economist testifying under oath told the court that NASCAR underpaid its Cup Series teams by approximately $1 billion between 2020 and 2023. Arguing the sport's revenue-sharing model heavily favored the sanctioning body while limiting team earnings. According to the testimony, NASCAR retained an overwhelming majority of its media rights, sponsorship, and licensing revenue, while teams who fund operations, employ hundreds of workers, and field the cars each day received a comparatively small share. The Economist presented detailed financial models comparing NASCAR's structure to other major professional sports leagues, including the NFL, NBA, and Formula One. In each comparison, NASCAR teams were shown to receive significantly less revenue relative to the league's overall earnings. At the center of the dispute is NASCAR's charter system, which grants teams the right to compete weekly but does not provide permanent franchise status or guaranteed long-term value. Attorneys for the teams argue this structure limits competition, suppresses team valuations, and allows NASCAR to maintain near total control over the sport's finances. Lawyers representing NASCAR pushed back forcefully, calling the Economist's conclusions speculative, and arguing that NASCAR bears substantial costs teams do not, including track ownership, event promotion, safety innovation, and marketing. They also emphasize that NASCAR operates as a privately owned sanctioning body, not a traditional sports league, and therefore should not be held to the same revenue-sharing expectations. But team attorneys countered that the financial imbalance has created an unsustainable model, one where teams struggle to break even despite booming television contracts and growing corporate sponsorships. Several current and former team owners have already testified that operating costs have soared in recent years, while prize money and revenue distributions have failed to keep pace. Some describe the system as structurally stacked against teams, particularly mid tier organizations without manufacturing backing. Industry analysts say today's testimony could be pivotal. If the court accepts the economist's findings, it could bolster claims that NASCAR business practices violate federal antitrust laws, potentially forcing changes to revenue sharing, charter ownership, and team governance. Behind the scenes, one of the most consequential battles in modern NASCAR continues to unfold. Negotiations over the future of the charter system. What's at stake is not just team economics, but the long term structure of the sport itself. The charter system, introduced to provide financial stability and guaranteed race entry for teams, is now at a crossroads. Several charters are set to expire, and teams are pressing NASCAR for clearer long term security, increased revenue sharing, and greater transparency. Owners argue that rising costs from car development to personnel have outpaced the current financial model. They believe charters must offer stronger guarantees if teams are expected to continue investing at a high level. NASCAR, meanwhile, faces a delicate balancing act. Officials must protect the value of charters while preserving competitive access for new teams and manufacturers. Too much rigidity, critics warn, could stall growth. Too little, teams argue, could destabilize, sorry. The discussions have grown increasingly urgent, with multiple ownership groups publicly calling for reform, while no final agreement has been announced. Sources say both sides understand that the future health of the sport depends on a resolution. As negotiations continue, one thing is clear: the outcome of the charter talks could define NASCAR's business model for the next decade. A controversial race season has once again reignited debate surrounding NASCAR's next gen car, raising questions about safety, race quality, and the balance between innovation and tradition. The next gen car was introduced to modernize NASCAR, emphasizing cost control, parity, and manufacturer relevance. And in many ways, it has succeeded, but recent on track incidents have reopened concerns about how the car behaves in traffic and during contact. Drivers described races where handling deteriorated quickly in dirty air, while others pointed to the car's stiffness during impacts, an issue NASCAR has worked to address through ongoing safety updates. Fans, meanwhile, remain divided. Some praise the unpredictability and parity the car provides. Others argue it has removed too much of the mechanical variation that once separated teams and drivers. NASCAR officials insist the car remains a work in progress. Adjustments to the rear diffuser, underbody airflow, and safety components are ongoing, with the sanctioning body emphasizing that driver input is central to every decision. As NASCAR continues refining the next gen platform, the debate underscores a larger truth. The sport is evolving in real time, and the path forward is being shaped race by race. Alrighty, now on to our race recap, starting with the NNRL. The NNRL ZMP Cup Series delivered a thrilling short track showdown this weekend at Iowa Speedway, where strategy, patience, and late race execution defined the outcome of the Iowa Corn 201. From the opening laps to the final sprint, this race evolved into a multi-phase battle that kept teams guessing and fans locked in until the checkered flag. The race began with a clean green flag start as the pole sitter jumped out to an early advantage and established control of the field. The opening laps were marked by tight, disciplined racing, with drivers prioritizing track position and tire management over aggressive moves. Within the first run, the early leader began setting the pace, while the top five remained tightly packed, an early signal that passing would be difficult and strategy would be critical as the race progressed. As the race settled in, the tone changed dramatically. A series of mid race incidents triggered multiple caution periods, repeatedly stacking the field and reshuffling the running order. Several contenders who methodically worked forward saw their momentum erased, while others benefited from timely restarts and pit decisions. These cautions forced drivers to make difficult calls whether to prioritize fresh tires, track position, or fuel conservation, and the race quickly became a chess match on pit road. As the field changed through the final corners, Kai Collymore had an incident which let Cooper win, crossing the line to claim a hard earned victory in one of the season's most demanding races. It was a win defined not just by speed, but by patience, adaptability, and smart race management, the kind of performance that sends a message to the rest of the NNRL field. The action was intense this weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the PWRC as the Capital One 500 brought high-speed drama and three thrilling stages of racing. From start to finish, fans were treated to edge-of-your-seat battles and a race that ultimately crowned that one light bolt in the 24 car as the race winner. The race kicked off with all three stages providing plenty of excitement. Stage 1 set the tone as drivers fought for track position, with the field settling quickly into a competitive rhythm. A few early incidents caused caution flags, but the leaders navigated the chaos and stayed in contention. Stage 2 intensified the competition. Mid-stage incidents reshuffled the mid-pack, but the 24 car consistently stayed near the front. Showing both speed and strategy, it became clear early on that one light bolt and both the pace and poise to be a factor in the final stage. The final stage was a showcase of precision and nerve with high-speed battles for the lead and a few late race incidents. The 24 car managed to maintain its position at the front. Pit strategy and tire management proved decisive, allowing him to cross the finish line first, securing a well-earned victory. So there you have it, a thrilling race at Charlotte Motor Speedway and a victory for that one light bulb in the 24 car. Fans can look forward to more intense competition as the PWRC season continues, and standings for after this race should be up right now. And that's our race recap. Thank you for joining us and watching VBS Evening News. Those are all of your headlines for today. Good night.